I was down with COVID. On the 13th July, I was tested positive. I went to see the doctor. The doctor gave me some meds and told me to isolate myself until it turned negative. It felt really bad on the first day, but after that, it was pretty alright. It didn't turn negative until the 5th day though. I was bored as hell. Being alone in the room, and there's nothing much you can do apart from going online, watching shows. And I was thinking, I've been riding rather consistently for a year. Maybe it's time for me to upgrade my bike. With some research, the most recommended bike upgrades are the tyres and the wheel set, because they provide you the best watts per dollar saving. I'm not here to give you all the data, so take it with a pinch of salt. It was rather easy for me to pick the tyres because almost everyone around me uses this Continental GP 5000. And from the research that I've done, the GP 5000 seems to be the best overall performer, with a decent low rolling resistance, high puncture score, and of course the cheapest amongst all. As for the tubes, I wanted to go with the Tubolito because apparently it's the lightest inner tube, but unfortunately the Tubolito seller ghosted me, so I went with the Right Now inner tubes, which are the so-called Chinese Tubolito. One thing that's worth to mention, it is also half the price of the original Tubolito. So next up, the wheel set. So this one will take a little bit more consideration because wheel sets aren't cheap. And also they have different depths, which is an important factor to consider based on the terrain that you're riding on. So, with some googling, the best budget-friendly wheel sets are the Hyper 50 from Windspace and the Magin XR Pro. In terms of the cost, the Magin XR Pro is $500 cheaper than the Hyper 50. But then, the Magin XR is only available in China. You can get them to ship it over, but the warranty doesn't cover internationally, meaning if there's any issue, you have to send it all the way back to China to get it fixed, which is kinda troublesome, so nope. Whereas the Hyper 50 from Windspace has a local retailer in Singapore, which is a good thing, meaning that if there's any issue, I can just bring it back to the shop and they will just fix it for me. But come to think of it, it is 1,500 Singapore dollars, which costs almost about the same as my bike. I mean, does it really make sense to spend as much as my bike costs for an upgrade? I can't seem to convince myself on that. Now that all the budget-friendly options are not friendly for me anymore, I guess I'll have to resort into used wheel sets. Well, the first one that actually came into my mind is the SLR 142mm from Giant. As far as I know, it's an entry-level carbon wheel set that comes at a decent price from a well-known brand. And it so happened that there's a pair that's listed on Carousel. I went ahead and messaged the seller and negotiated with him on the price. In the end, we agreed on 750 Singapore dollars. In total, I spent about $900 for the tyres, tubes and wheel sets. And also 2 pairs of carbon brake pads because carbon wheels needs carbon brake pads. All this mumbling and all, I realized something. I actually haven't done a bike intro before. Well, it's not some fancy-pantsy top-of-the-line kind of bike, but it's the one that got me into road cycling. The one that brings me around Singapore. The Giant TCR SL1. It's an aluminium frame with a gunmetal grey-black gradient with, I think it's called the chameleon color paint underneath it with a glossy finish. It's paired with the Shimano 105 R7000 group set, except for the chainring and crank, which I have no idea what the brands are. Anyways, it's a 50 to 34 chainring paired with the 11 to 34 cassette. And yeah, stock aluminium wheels and tires. All of the above weighs about 9.8 kilograms. So now, got my wheel set, tires, tubes, and brake pads. There's still one missing puzzle piece: the mechanic. I have zero experience in changing tires and wheels, and then a good friend of mine offered to help. look at him flexing his biceps. After 2 hours of painful and dirty upgrading session, this is how my bike looks like. It looks rapid already. And right now it weighs about 8.6 kilograms. There's a 1.2 kilograms saving by changing the wheels, tires and tubes. So the next day we actually went out for a ride to the usual TMCR route, which is what you're seeing all along. But during the ride, I noticed there's this rattling sound at the back of my bike. Which is kind of weird. So in the end, I went to a bike shop to get it fixed, and the mechanic said it was one of the spacer that's missing in the cassette. Anyways, I also got the bar tape changed because my bar tape broke. So, how does the ride feel like after upgrading my bike? Honestly, it feels really good. It's like I can maintain at a faster speed with the same effort that I've done before. I mean, I don't have a power meter to measure that, but it's just based on my personal feeling. Well, it could be just a placebo effect, I don't know. Alright? And will I get dropped again at West Coast Highway? That is something we shall find out. So here are the costs for all the upgrades and servicing that I have done. What do you think of this upgrade? Is it worth it? Or I should have just saved that money into getting a new bike? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.